The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Alongside women's basketball coach Mike Mincey, I'm Michael Watching here on SeeingEagles.com as Lady Eagles get set for 23rd ranked Newberry. And coach, last year Newberry topped you 3 times, knocked you out in the SAC women's basketball championships. Don't want to say that there's really any revenge, but a big game for you. Don't want to fall to 0-2 in South Atlantic Conference play. What do you expect from this Wolves team that has the reigning freshman of the year, Meg Essex, as their leading player?
Well, I mean, ever since Coach Page has been there, they've been really talented. They obviously have a lot of Australians that have a lot of experience, and they play very sound basketball, very fundamental. They'll certainly be a tough challenge for us as always. Up until last year, I think we were fortunate enough to get wins on the road at Newberry, which is a really difficult task, and our kids have done a great job of going over there and kind of beating them in their own game. It's low-scoring games, and we found out about 4 or 5 years ago that you can't get them out of their pace. They're going to play at the pace they want to play at, and if you're going to beat them, you got to beat them at their own game. But they're just really talented. Essex is a great player. Their point guard Hendrick's is a good player, and of course, last year we did a pretty good job on Essex and held her to single digits all 3 games and still lost. So that's not necessarily key, but we got to make sure there's about 3 or 4 of them that we got to get stopped.
You mentioned that you had to beat them at their game, but sometimes they're able to beat you at your game. Last year they scored 80-plus points in the SAC Women's Basketball Championships. 4 players this year, averaging in double figures. It seems like they don't go that deep in terms of scoring options. What do you do to try to limit some of their scoring options this season?
Obviously, with Essex, you got to keep a body on her. That's something that we tried to do last year. We obviously had success. The keys to last year's game that we didn't do a good job on was holding their guards down. We would do a good job on Essex, and then their guards would go for huge numbers. Even a guard that maybe was only scoring 6 or 7 points a game would step up and have a double-figure game, and that's one of the reasons we lost last year. Of course, you had Creed last year too, and she went off on us here and had a big stretch there in the fourth quarter that carried them to a victory, and then Hendrick just went crazy on us at their place. So, they're just the type of team. They got so many players that even if you hold 1 or 2 players down, they got other players that can come in and certainly beat you.
On the flip side for you offensively, we talked about it the other night, how well you have played offensively this season, averaging about 90 points per game this year. How nice is it for you as a coach to see this team gel the way that they have and be as unselfish as they've been?
I mean, obviously I'm an offensive-minded coach. I admit that, obviously, but we've got to be able to play defense better and rebound. 4 or 5 years ago when I had a different player that couldn't score, we played great defense, gave up about 56 points a game. I think we're somewhere around 74, 75 points a game right now giving up. I mean, we're like 270 in the country, but we're number 7 in the country in offense. So I don't like the fact that it feels like we have to outscore our opponents every single game. It just seems like that at some point the defense has to pick up because we're not always going to be able to score. Columbus State was a really good example to where we needed to be able to rebound and play defense quite a bit better than we did, and then they outscored us, giving up 85 points on the road to our 75. A lot of times, in my experience at Carson-Newman, if you can score about 75 points, you feel like you're going to have a good chance of winning the basketball game. And right now, when we play people, it's a shootout, and it just didn't matter are we going to make that last play to be able to score enough points to win the game.
Coach, thanks for the time. Best of luck Saturday.
Thank you.
He's Carson-Newman women's basketball coach Mike Mincey. I'm Michael Watching on SeeingEagles.com.